Hey everyone, this is Mason Hutchison and you're listening to Herb Rally. Today's episode is a very special edition of the Herbalist Hour, and I'm joined by one of my very best friends, and that is Nick Moya. So I met Nick probably about a decade or so ago when we both took the second year of the Columbines School of Botanical Studies apprenticeship. And ever since then, we've been really good buddies, and it was really great to have him on the show, dive a little deeper into his background. We chat about how he got into herbalism. We chat a ton about medicinal mushrooms, including how to make a double extract. We chat about one of his favorite mushrooms, turkey tail. We also chat about Oregon grape, Berberis nervosa, the importance of play, how he approaches writing herbal monographs, getting into teaching, and a whole lot more. So yeah, Nick and his partner Steph were on a cross-country road trip. We're friends from Oregon, but as they were going on their cross-country road trip, they were able to stop in Appleton, Wisconsin, hang out with us in person, and it was just a blast to hang out with them for a few days, record this interview, and also, if you'd like to check out the video version of this, it has one of the most goofy intros ever, so I will leave a link to that video in the podcast show notes if you'd rather watch this interview as opposed to listen on the podcast. And all of these Herbalist Hour interviews are on our YouTube channel, so if you'd like to check that out, just head to youtube.com/c/herbrally or simply search Herb Rally in the search bar, and please give us a subscribe. We've been coming up about 5 herbalism videos per week, so tons of free herbal content right there on YouTube from us at Herb Rally. So thank you for subscribing. Also, before we get into the show, I'd love to thank our presenting sponsor, and that is, of course, Oshala Farm. I just got their newsletter, so if you're not getting the Dirt on the Farm newsletter from Oshala Farm, definitely subscribe to that. You could go to oshalafarm.com, sign up there. But I was reading their newsletter the other day, and I saw that they are now producing hydrosols. So they hosted friend of Herb Rally, friend of Oshala Farm, Erica Galanton of Sovereignty Herbs not too long ago, and she hosted a hydrosol making class on the farm there in Southern Oregon. And it looks like it inspired Oshala Farm to start making and selling hydrosols. So if you want to check out their farm fresh hydrosols, they have looks like they have Tulsi, peppermint, helichrysum, geranium, and a white sage hydrosol. So be sure to check out Oshala Farm's hydrosols at oshalafarm.com. And yeah, besides hydrosols, they also grow and sell over 80 culinary and medicinal herbs. So yeah, definitely check them out if you're looking to purchase organic and U.S. grown herbs. Also, before we get into the show, shout out and a huge thank you to our Herb Rally Schoolhouse members for your support. We really couldn't do this without your support, so thank you so much. Also, Herb Rally Schoolhouse members are able to join us live for these Herbalist Hour interviews, at least the ones that we host via Zoom. So if you'd like to learn more about how to become an Herb Rally Schoolhouse member, simply go to herbrally.com/schoolhouse. Anyways, that's going to do it for me today. Hope you enjoy this winter solstice special with Nick Moya. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Welcome to the Herbalist Hour. This is where community gather, merging the power of people and the flowers, the sweet and the bitter to the salty, the sour. Umami, it's time for the Herbalist Hour.
What you reading? Trees. By, who's the author?
Hildegard von Bingen. Nice medieval herbalist.
You know this book.
Never heard of it.
Flora of the Pacific Northwest. Oh, hi. Welcome back to a very special edition of the Herbalist Hour. This is our winter solstice edition. Today I'm joined by one of my very best friends, Nick Moya.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, a lot of times with the beginning of these shows, I like to start out by getting to know the herbalist's path to how they got into herbalism and everything. So I've known you for many years now, and I don't actually know how you got into herbalism itself. So how did you get into herbalism?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a longer story that goes back to I used to hike a lot as a kid. I grew up in Southern California, and I was pretty close within walking distance to a big state park, and I would go alone a lot and hike, and I was always curious about the plants, but I never really thought to investigate what they were and how to use them and stuff. The one story I remember from when I was young, I was probably early teens, and I actually harvested wild onions, which looking back on it was probably not the best idea because I ate them. I went home, I harvested I found a little patch and I was like, I don't remember how I figured out they were wild onions. But they were, thankfully, they were the real deal. Yeah. So I harvested like a bunch of these little bulbs and I went home and I made rice and I cooked them and I ate them and I was like, that was like life-changing for me. I was like, wow, you can just like get food from nature. I was always really into like learning about Native American societies and how they were, and so, but yeah, like but then I kind of did other things. I traveled when I was in my early 20s, and I ended up finally in Oregon, and that's when I really started getting into it because I knew somebody living at Lost Valley, which is this education center, permaculture center in Dexter, Oregon, which is like 25 minutes from Eugene. And I knew a couple people actually who were doing Columbines, which we ended up doing together for a year at least. And that's with Howie Brownstein, Stephen Yeager. That was back in the good old days. And so yeah, and I got really excited about it and ended up signing up to do it. And then it just exploded my mind. I was like so excited about it. Just learning like how to identify plants and like that you can get it down to species or at least close enough where you can figure out what you can do with the plants medicinally and just the ecology and everything they taught us is so mind-blowing for me. So
that's where I got this book.
Yeah.
Flora of the Pacific Northwest by C. Leo Hitchcock.
Hitchy.
Little Hitchy. There he is right there.
There he is.
There's a lot of herbalism schools, especially in the Pacific Northwest. What made you decide to go to the Columbine School of Botanical Studies?
It just had a really good recommendation from my friends who were there.
Yeah.
And it just seemed, it's really the major game in Eugene. Like, totally. I mean, it's the biggest, or it's at least the most established. I mean, at the time, Howie was doing it for like, he had been teaching for like 30 years when we took Columbines. Yeah. And so it was just well established and had a really good reputation. So I was like, why not? I just my first big venture into herbs. So
how do you utilize herbalism in your daily life? Because you're not a clinical herbalist, but I feel like it's very much a part of your just the way you live. So
yeah, that's like the main. I like to incorporate everything I learn in any sort of system or anything, you know, from like literally any subject. I'm like really curious of a person and I like to incorporate knowledge into my daily life. Yeah. That's like really true for herbs and nutrition and just like metabolism and just thinking about like essentially food as medicine.
Totally.
So I do a lot of that kind of stuff. Similar to you, like I like to make infusions and drink those as much as I can remember to do it and kind of form like little habits here and there. And then also like it gets me out. It gets me out of the house. Especially I have a dog. He's now almost 11 years old.
Shout out Bear.
Shout out to Bear, yeah.
If he's watching.
My life partner. Yeah, he's great. And so, but I've had him his whole life, and he, you know, when you have a dog, it like forces you to go out into nature and go hiking a lot more. And so that's what I did. And then having that base knowledge of like how to identify plants and kind of recognizing friends everywhere as you're walking. It's like, oh, that's my good buddy, Oregon grape, or that's, you know. So then it was like, it just became like a repetitious, fun exercise of a habit that I would incorporate into my life. And then, and then just going off the trail like I used to do as a kid, you know, just going way off trail. And I got a pretty good sense of direction, luckily, so I can like explore a lot in old growth forests and things like that. So, yeah, that's kind of how I incorporate it. And yeah.
Herbalists are some of the best friends you could have, and you're one of my best friends. And I feel like when I was living in Oregon, you're always like, "Hey Mason, let's go harvest elderberries or whatever."
Yeah.
So yeah, you're constantly living that herbal lifestyle. It's not necessarily what you do for a living. You said earlier today you're a jack of many trades or all trades, and your curiosity goes everywhere. But you're not an herbalist per se, but you do have an herbal products company. I'm not sure how much time or effort you're putting into that, but it's called OsoMoya. So I would like to hear a little bit about that story. What does the name OsoMoya mean?
Well, it goes back to bear.
Okay, it always comes back to bear.
Oso is Spanish for bear. So
Like that.
and then Moya is my last name.
Right.
So I don't know where I thought of that. I thought it was cool.
I love it.
It's kind of cryptic.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of an explanation, which is like, double-edged sword, because it's mysterious for a lot of people and it's hard to remember for most people. They're like, what was it?
But at least the website URL was available.
Oh yeah, for sure.
OsoMoya.com. Yeah, exactly.
No, I think like after finishing Columbines, I think I got like a wild hair and just decided to, I was like, well, I understand basic extraction processes for plants and mushrooms, and I really enjoy doing it. And I was doing it for myself anyway, right? Yeah. Just making extracts for my own consumption. Yeah. And I was giving them to friends and like able to recommend things. I was like, well, why don't I just make a label, do the whole thing? So I've been like low grade doing that for like off and on, giving it a little more attention sometimes, and then like totally neglecting the business for like a year at a time.
Happens.
So it's a total side project, and it's not at all about the money. I think I probably make like 2 cents an hour if I were to calculate it, but it's so fun for me and it's so enriching. So I just keep it going because I like it. I like to. I mostly sell on Etsy, so osomoya.etsy.com is where you'd find it, but that's just easier for me because that's just what I've set up first, and it's still running pretty good.
Well, we'll see if the Herb Rally audience could get you up to 4 cents per hour.
4 cents an hour.
We'll leave a link to the Etsy shop in the podcast show notes and all that good stuff. So knowing you're into, herbalism, nutrition, woodworking, all sorts of things, but you're also really into mycology, and that's some of the products that you do carry is mushroom double extract. So I was just kind of hoping you could share with the audience, how do you make a mushroom double extract?
Yeah, the process is like, well, it can get more in depth. There's different like little tweaks and things you can do to it. I kind of do a pretty simple method, but I do make them very potent.
Sure.
And that's kind of like since I'm not in it for the money, I just do it to see how effective I can do it. And so it's more of like a little pet project for me.
Totally.
So the double extraction process is basically use hot water and you use alcohol as an extraction process. So it's a tincture, as most of your listeners are familiar with, is basically just an alcohol extraction of the constituents of a plant or a mushroom or anything else, an algae or whatever. So what you do with the double extract is you're getting more constituents out of the mushroom, because mushrooms they're not like plants that or mammals for that matter. They have a chitin cell wall. And chitin is relatively impervious to water. It's probably not exactly correct, but there's also constituents in the chitin, the protein, that are beneficial also. And chitin is broken down by heat. And so with doing a hot water extraction over a period of time, you're basically simmering the mushrooms in water. And that loosens up the chitin, breaks it down, denatures it, releases more proteins that are beneficial as prebiotics, as just active constituents that are good to get in people's bodies for various reasons. So I'll do those two processes. I start with the alcohol extraction.
Okay, yeah. So alcohol first, you let it macerate for a month or so, and then after that you strain it, and then you take the what's left over of the mushrooms, and then you boil that, and then you kind of combine the two.
Exactly. And I even add on to that. Like I said, this isn't the most lucrative way to do it, but I add extra mushroom to both processes. So when I move to the hot water extract, I'll actually add more mushrooms fresh.
Oh wow!
Because it just makes it stronger, and I feel better about it. So. People need to take less, and it's more effective or whatever. So, Yeah, it's good. It's a great process. It works for me. There's other tweaks. I kind of want to get it's called a soak slit or sock slit apparatus.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I took general chemistry and organic chemistry in college.
Okay.
And that was really beneficial for me to understand like how to scientific literacy is huge in herbalism. If you want to take a more scientific aspect to it and a more scientific perspective, it's really important. It is for me to understand the research, and so I read scientific articles all the time about different herbs I'm interested in. Like, what have they shown in a lab, or what have they shown in human studies how much to take of a certain plant compound or whatever that has an effect that's positive. So yeah, anyway, so chemistry helps a lot with that, especially with the extraction process, because a lot of chemistry is just extraction.
Sure.
So it's like a whole field of chemistry. So it's fun to use that and get little tidbits of information like, oh, that temperature or that period of time of at that temperature is what's maxing out this one constituent that I'm trying to get into my extract. So I'll use that kind of information. And I'm not afraid to like go dive deep into like, the literature about it, which is fun. It's for me.
Are you saying you want to make a sock slit extract of like say reishi mushroom or something like that?
Yeah, I've heard. I've never done it, but because I just haven't like pulled the trigger and bought the apparatus.
Sure.
But I think it'd be fun if I ever set up like a little lab for myself where I do extractions. Like buy one of those things.
Totally.
Get that going. So essentially, what that is you're boiling. It allows you to boil alcohol, and it keeps it from evaporating off. So you're essentially doing a heat and an alcohol extraction at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you throw some reishi powder in there or chaga or whatever you're doing, and then you boil it in this little thing, and then so you do it all at once. It's pretty fun.
Just like a resource recommendation, I want to say Thomas Easley probably has a lot of literature, videos or classes or whatever on sock slit extraction, because I know he really specializes in that. So I don't know if you knew that or not. But
no, not really. Yeah,
okay.
I haven't gone down that road yet.
I will try to research this after the podcast episode and leave links as well, maybe to that, Thomas Easley's work and whatnot. But I'm going to be did you have anything else you wanted to say about the extract process or anything like that?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's a bunch of details and like, technical stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
This is just an hour podcast, so yeah.
Just a quick break from the show to thank our presenting sponsor, Oshala Farm. Oshala Farm is a beautiful and vibrant certified organic herb farm based in Southern Oregon, where they grow and sell over 80 different plant species. The founders, Elise and Jeff Higley, have been longtime friends, so I highly trust their growing methods and ethics. You'll love the potency and vibrancy of all the herbs they have to offer. To learn more and purchase their herbs and other organic goods, head to oshalafarm.com. So thanks once again to Oshala Farm for sponsoring the Herbalist Hour. Now back to the show. Enjoy.
I'm going to be a bad podcast host, and I'm going to do some podcast cast. And I'm going to ask you something that you're not supposed to ask as an herbal podcast host, but what is one of your favorite mushrooms? Because they say don't ask a guest what their favorite herb is, but I'm just going to ask you to anyways. What are some mushrooms that you have deep relationships with?
To me, that's like two different questions. Like, so if I think of my favorites, I do a lot of like mushroom hunting in Oregon. It's a big thing, and there's a lot of biodiversity there in the fungal kingdom. So it's a really great place to like, have access to all those wild mushrooms. And I love porcinis. I love Boletus edulis, the edible bolete.
Is that what's on your arm?
King bolete. Yeah, I have a tattoo on my arm of it.
Shout out, Steph.
Shout out to my partner, Steph, who did the tattoo, stick and poke. Anyway, so it's cool to learn about the ecology of that mushroom. So that's like my favorite.
Yeah.
But as far as like one that I have a deeper relationship with, I'd say my deepest one is turkey tail.
Wow.
Because I've been harvesting that the longest. That's actually probably the one that I sell the most of too, which I'm happy about because I love harvesting it. I love all the research that's been done on it. Stamets and like all those researchers have been doing work on cancer treatment with it, immunomodulation, And even as a prebiotic, it's amazing for your gut health. It's a lot of the polysaccharides are like indigestible, so they pass through your digestive tract, go into your gastrointestinal lower GI tract, and they feed a really beneficial flora in your gut. So, and that's true for most medicinal mushrooms, but turkey tail, it has a lot of polysaccharides, which is the good stuff.
Can you tell the audience like what trees they grow on and harvesting and all that?
Yeah, turkey tail can grow on a lot of different things, and they're considered in like a lot of mushroom grow operations. They're one of the weedy mushrooms, so they'll show up you're like trying to grow reishi, and they just like pop in there, and you're like, you know, to me that'd be a happy surprise. But they like hardwoods mainly. So you don't see them on conifers very often, but they love, I also prune fruit trees as some of the work that I do in Oregon. So I see them on apples and pears and stuff like that. But I found that they prefer, in Oregon at least, Western Oregon, they prefer hazelnuts. Yeah. Filberts, if you will.
The Oregon State nut.
The Oregon State nut, yeah. And they're I think they're semi-parasitic, or maybe they're saprophytic, but you only really find them on wood that's already dead. Okay. So I don't think they're killing many trees. So they're not a huge concern as far as agriculture goes. But
well, yeah, at Doris Ranch there was something else that was killing all of those filberts.
Yeah, that's Eastern filbert blight. Right. Yeah, that's
nothing
a whole
to do
other
with
story.
the turkey tail.
Yeah, nothing to do with turkey tail. But you know, they will be opportunistic on something that's a dead branch, and you'll see tons of turkey tail. If you walk through old orchards, and I do harvest from orchards, but I strictly harvest from organic orchards that don't spray chemical sprays or any heavy metals or anything like that. So that's a big concern. If you're going to go through an old orchard or something, make sure it's organic. They don't spray. Yeah, if you're looking for mushrooms, because they will concentrate heavy metals and things like that. So, but yeah, I love those two mushrooms. Those are like definitely top favorites. Favorite good ones, yeah.
Sure. So I have to ask, I feel like I've heard that there's very common lookalikes for turkey tail. Do you have any knowledge on that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, anytime you're harvesting a mushroom or anything, a plant, you should look at what looks like it. Yeah. And you should have a set of criteria that you follow. I mean, you can start with a key. But I know a lot of people find dichotomous keys kind of like tedious and too much. So I would say
dichotomous key even for the mushrooms. Are you using one of those?
Yeah. Well, I haven't specifically for turkey tail, but what I've done is I've looked up all the things Burkhandera and is it Styrax is the other one, and then there's another one in the same genus. It's Trametes hirsuta. It looks like it, and I think all of those are non-toxic, so you're not going to kill yourself with a turkey tail lookalike, like you would with some other kind of lookalike of a different mushroom. But in any case, it's good to know what you're getting, and I double and triple check everything and make sure. But I kind of it's more passive now because I've done it so much that I can kind of be like, oh, that's that. And not get confused when I'm out there.
So when you're making a tincture, 100% of the time you're using, is it Trametes versicolor? You're not using that other species that you mentioned?
Yeah, Trametes hirsuta.
Because there's just no research on it.
Yeah, exactly. But
there's probably still medicinal benefits.
It's in the same genus. Yeah. It's a polypore. As far as I understand, there's no poisonous polypore mushrooms. That's the Polyporaceae family of mushrooms. That's like includes reishi, maitake. If you're in the Northwest, we have the red-belted conch. We have, heterobasidian. There's like literally dozens of them. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, there's no poisonous polypores in the Northwest. That's like Eugene area.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not like concerned about killing anybody, but I am concerned about for my own reasons to get the right thing and not, be selling the right product, So
when we went to Columbines, one of the things I most appreciated about their teachings was how conservative they were with picking plants and consuming plants, and I feel like you have to be even much more conservative when you're dealing with mushrooms.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That could be debated because there's a lot of plants that could kill you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I think people are more afraid of mushrooms. It goes back to like the whole mycophobia thing from England. As a lot of our ancestors in North America come from the British Isles. And generally speaking, they are mycophobic there. Whereas in more Eastern European areas, like, you go to Czech Republic or Northern Italy or something like that, you're going to find a mycophilic culture where they love wild mushrooms and they celebrate them. So, but what we've inherited, I think, in the United States for the most part culturally is a little bit of mycophobia. And so, people are, the whole toadstool thing. People are just like generally hesitant, which is a good place to start. Yeah. But now the culture is shifting more towards being more interested in like what are these things actually, and what can they do for us, and what can we do for them, and all that. I love what's happening with the culture right now. Yeah. This explosion of interest in mushrooms and fungi. It's so cool. It's so cool to see. I mean, I compare it to like plants. Like imagine if like nobody everything that we get is from plants. We get clothing, we get rubber for our tires, we get all of our food basically, including meats. Those herbivores are eating plants. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's everything for us. But imagine if you ignored the plant kingdom for hundreds of years, and then you're like, hey, guess what? You know what? I think you can eat this fruit off this tree. I'm pretty sure it's just that's what we've done with mushrooms.
Totally.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Oh, I have so many different things I want to bring up. But first, before I forget, I want you to shout out one of your favorite podcasts, and I want to say it's the Mushroom
Herb
Hour.
Rally podcast. My absolute favorite.
No, but seriously, is it the Mushroom Hour?
The Mushroom Hour is sweet.
This is the Herbalist Hour. So this is the...
Oh, yeah, cool, yeah.
So the Mushroom Hour, you kept recommending it to me. I still
it's great,
to listen to it. But why don't you shout out the host? And just tell him why.
I don't remember the host's name.
Oh, okay.
But I love that dude. He's great. Yeah, he's very eloquent. He asks great questions. Yeah. He's very well researched and researched. He's very well studied, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, he's great. I highly recommend that podcast for anyone interested in anything to do with fungi. And he covers anything. I listened to a podcast recently of him talking with an artist.
Okay.
Who just paints. Gets inspiration from looking at microscopic images of fungi, and then just does big paintings of them and stuff. It's just anything to do with it. It's really cool. Yeah, check it out.
So we have a mutual friend, also into mycology, Logan Keister, and I want to say I brought this up with him in my episode with him for the Herbalist Hour as well. But I've made tinctures, double extracts, mushroom extracts out of chanterelle and what's the pine mushroom, matsutake, and just more just for funsies, just to see how it tastes and everything. But I'm also presuming that there's medicinal qualities to these culinary mushrooms that we're consuming. I've never seen like a product line do say a chanterelle tincture. I've done candy cap as well. And
cool.
And I'm just wondering, like, what's your take on that? Was that just a pointless exercise, or how do you view that?
Absolutely not. Okay. I mean, it's cool because people have been doing extracts of good tasting mushrooms as a flavoring extracts of chanterelles. You could probably find like button mushrooms, portobellas, stuff like that. You could find clearly truffles, things like that. But that's for flavor. Yeah. But if you look at the constituents and the research on edible mushrooms that are not considered one of the just purely medicinal, like chaga or reishi or something, they're chock full of the same polysaccharides and same immunomodulating constituents, beta glucans, beta 1,3 glucans, like all those kind of things. So you're absolutely getting tons of benefit from it. And I have a 6 mushroom extract that I sell, but it's all like the pure, like considered purely medicinal mushrooms, except for like maitake, shiitake are in there. But I've experimented with pretty much every mushroom I've identified. I've made a double extract. Sometimes like really small amounts, like I'll make like a pint.
Right.
And why not?
Totally.
I mean, if you can eat them, you can take them as a tonic for your own health.
Have you ever made a mushroom infused mead? I know you're big into like making mead and whatnot.
Okay, one of the things I'm gonna do. So I'm on a road trip going back to Oregon right now. That's why we're here in Wisconsin. When I get back, I'm planning on making a few batches of mead, which is one of my little hobbies. I love it, and I want to do a chaga mead because I think chaga
That'd be so good.
is such a tasty mushroom, and it doesn't have a mushroomy flavor. It's got more of like almost like a root beer kind of vibe.
Yeah,
Like it's
I
got
see
this
that.
like lighter kind of almost floral flavor. It's got a lot of cool constituents that make it a little sweet, betulinic acid and stuff like that. What was the other constituent you mentioned the other?
Vanillic acid?
Vanillic, yeah, okay. So, I mean, perfect for a mead. So I want to try that. But I haven't done it. I have a friend, Brad, shout out to Brad in Corvallis. He made a psilocybe mead.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he made a reishi mead, and I don't think he did chaga yet, but they're good, and why not, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked a bunch about mushrooms. Why don't we switch over to plants a little bit?
Okay.
So Columbine School of Botanical Studies, like you'd think that the poster child of their brand would be the Columbine's flower, but really I think of like Oregon grape. And one of the, because they say repetition is the key to mastery at the Columbine School, and I feel like that one was just repeated over and over and over and over again. Oregon grape, Berberis nervosa, or Mahonia nervosa. Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Yep.
I know one of your products at OsoMoya is a Berberis triple extract. So I'm just kind of, first of all, are you in the Mahonia or Berberis camp? And second of all, what does a triple extract of Oregon grape look like?
Yeah, cool. The way that at least Howie explained it, and I've seen both Berberis and Mahonia, but I think it's like I don't really know where that stands as far as the official.
Right.
I like saying Mahonia.
It's fun.
Because it's more, it's more elegant.
That'd be a pretty name, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's got tons of berberine. It's very abundant. It's easy to grow, and it grows freely all over. It's an Oregon State flower, as you mentioned. It grows everywhere. It's easy to harvest. It's easy to process, and to make into an extract. It's super good for you. Berberine is like one of these like power chemicals that we get from the chemists in the plant world. It's people, I've seen it I haven't looked into this too much, but I've even seen Berberis as a tool for weight loss for some people. I think it stimulates NRF2 pathway for metabolism, which does a bunch of other things as an antioxidant and stuff like that. But berberine, the main thing that it does, it's found in golden seal, coptis, and a few other plants around the world, and it's an antimicrobial compound. So that's what the plant is synthesizing it for.
Okay.
It keeps bacterial infections away completely. So I think the way I learned it from Howie is what berberine does is it turns off this pump in bacteria that they use to pump out like antibiotics or anything, or even anything that's threatening to the bacterium. It'll pump it out through this thing called I think it's MRH5 or something.
MRH?
Maybe
Mason Robert Hutchison?
Mount
Rose Herbs?
Mount Rose Herbs, MRH, yeah. I don't know, I forget if that's correct. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's a pump that these bacteria use, and it inhibits that pump. So essentially you could take it in conjunction with antibiotics, and it would make the antibiotics much more effective. Or you can take it by itself if you're not into antibiotics, which I'm generally not. And so any bacterial infection, it works amazing with. But like I said, I think it has metabolism effects on your body. I think it's just a great thing to get in your body for the most part. Totally. So for the triple extract, we have in Western Oregon, we have two main, very common species of Mahonia. That's nervosa and aquifolium. The dwarf and the tall Oregon grape. And I use the root and stem bark, which is highest concentration of the compound berberine in that part of the plant. I use the two species, that's the I call it a triple extract because it's kind of a marketing term.
Right, it's not done in the same way as a double extract. That's not what you're talking about.
Not really.
Like 3 different ways.
But I do make it really strong.
Yeah.
And then I also threw in, because like when I'm walking through the forest and I'm harvesting Oregon grape, or I'm just like on a walk in old growth forest or something, I will see, when I see the fruits of Oregon grape, which look like tiny little grapes. Like
my mouth just puckered thinking about
Yeah,
it.
they're so good.
I love them.
I'm sure they're high.
Amelia used to love them when she was a little kiddo too.
Yeah, they're great. They're not sweet.
Right.
They're maybe slightly sweet, but
There's some
mostly
bitterness
tart.
and sour. Yeah, tart. Yeah.
I think it's vitamin C. I think it's ascorbic acid.
Okay.
But there's probably a ton of really great astringent compounds in there, stuff that's really tonic for your digestive tract. So I was like, well, why aren't we using these berries too? Like, I'm making the extract.
Right.
Like, why not crush up some fruit and throw it in there too, and like get the whole plant essentially. Not the whole plant. There's no leaves.
Parts of them. Yeah.
But yeah.
So I'm sorry. That's root, berries, and then did you say the flowers?
I
too,
guess
or?
I guess the triple is the 2 species.
Gotcha, okay,
And
yeah.
the fruits of the 2
You
species.
marketing person, you.
It's a quadruple extract if you really think about it.
We'll just put quadruple on your website now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds better.
Mahonia quad. Yeah.
More equals better.
Yeah.
So.
So anyway, it's just like a fun little twist on it, and it's almost guaranteed to be beneficial in several ways for whoever takes it. So I think it's great. Why not?
I would love to try that at some point. For many years, I was doing a solstice elixir. I would make a hawthorn berry elixir with the flowers, the leaves, and the berries. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'd even throw a little thorn in there for you know what I'm talking about. And then some other goodness in there as well. So yeah, I like how you're incorporating these different species in the different parts of the plant.
Yeah, it's like more towards the whole what do you call the blanking on it.
We're gonna zoom in on your face during the edit right here.
It's more like along the line of a spagyric.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that
But
earlier.
totally
Yeah.
not,
Okay,
because
yeah.
we're not doing the whole process with that. Yeah,
The ash
but
and
it's basically just including more of the plants, more holistic of an approach.
Totally.
Slightly. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, why not? I like the hawthorn idea too.
Yeah. I got the inspiration from Juliet Blankspore. I'll leave a link to that recipe in the description below. Is there anything else you want to talk about Oregon grape before we kind of move on?
I mean, probably we could talk for like an hour about it.
You could, yeah.
We could, yeah. You were trained the same as me.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, but yeah, it's cool. It's great. I mean, harvest sustainably when you go out. It's a very abundant plant, but in the
Pacific Northwest.
So was ginseng
Right.
before it got over harvested.
Yeah.
So were the bison in North America before they got massacred. So it's like just because it's abundant doesn't mean you shouldn't take caution.
So yeah, shout out to United Plant Savers for all the amazing work they're doing.
Heck yeah.
As far as when plants become popular, that could be a bad thing.
It could be. Yeah, we don't
so-
want like hundreds of tons of Oregon grape being shipped out of our state or whatever.
And there's parks in Eugene where they're finding stands of Oregon grape just completely ripped up, like say at Friends of Buford Park. In Buford Park, they told us all about how people would go in and raid the place and completely wipe out stands of Oregon grape. And I'm like, at what cost? So
yeah, it's silly too because it's not a hard plant to sustainably harvest.
Right.
Like if you want to look up, actually, Howie probably posts his checklist of.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know a better one or a different one.
The Wildcrafting checklist?
Wildcrafting
checklist.
checklist.
I'll link to Howie's for sure.
Yeah, because that's a great resource if you just want to like ask yourself the right questions, like how do I sustainably harvest anything, mushrooms, plants, anything. It's like ask yourself: is it like close to a road or a trail? Is there any contamination in the area? Is there, is the stand big enough? What percentage of the stand am I harvesting at a time? Am I moving around the stand to make sure I'm not just taking a section of it?
That's like 10 of the points right there.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm actually going to have Howie and Alex and Stephen and Leah all on the show here soon.
Heck yeah.
Because this is actually the Columbines' 40th year, which is quite incredible. You and I were probably in the 30th year or the 29th year or something like that. Back in the dizzle, but sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, they do great work at the Columbines School of Botanical Studies, so definitely look into them if you're looking to learn about wildcrafting and doing it in a sustainable way. So definitely has been foundational in my herbal education, and I probably talk about them about every other episode. So,
Yeah.
Well, why don't we transition a little bit? We're still going to kind of stick in the OsoMoya realm, but I have under your like About Us page, you have your mission statement, and so I'm just going to read it here. I thought it was beautiful. Our mission in everything we do is to spread our passion for this beautiful world as widely as possible through traditional and modern ecological knowledge, permaculture practice, science education, herbal healing, crafting, habitat restoration, and play. So all of those are great points, but I wanted to specifically hone in on play, and I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on why is play an important part of your mission statement?
Yeah, I mean, like, let's see. Yeah, I mean, play is like, it's essential to like a happy, healthy human life, right? Like, I mean, animals too, like play. It's just like, it is essential to your own sense of like well-being. And where better to play than in like an old growth forest or in like a meadow or like, you know what I mean? Like that is where we're from as a species. Like that's where we thrive the most. That's where you can maximize your potential. And so, yeah, and that's what another aspect of having a dog and like going out is like dogs love to play. Yeah. Everybody knows that. And it gets you in a playful mood. It like, so yeah, I mean, I play in the woods in a lot of different ways, and in a physical way, I like to experiment with like going barefoot as much as I can.
Totally.
And so I just think it's really cool. Like I like to toughen my feet up, especially in the summer, but even through the winter months in the fall. I do trail running sometimes. Like I'll go out and harvest plants. Even like, actually, it's funny, on a Columbines trip, we went out to harvest Devil's Club, and I was wearing flip-flops, and they kept slipping off because it's like a really muddy, like we're probably doing it in the fall or something, and you're in like a creek bed, and my sandals kept coming off, and I'm just like, and Devil's Club, if you know the plant, is covered in thorns, like big, long, 1.5 inch long thorns, and they hurt. Yeah. But I was like, well, if I'm gonna do this, like, if my sandals keep slipping off, I'm like, well, why don't I just take them off and just be extra sensitive and extra careful?
Yeah.
So like that was a big, epiphany for me. I was like, well, I could do this with anything. Like we're lucky in the Northwest too, because we don't have that many poisonous plants or venomous animals or anything like that. So you can essentially run naked through the forest and not have to worry about anything.
I've done that.
Yeah, I bet you have. So it's all about kind of pushing the limits, play, like rewilding, being more in tune with the earth, grounding, like that whole thing. That's one aspect, and then the other aspect I think is I think we talked about quite a bit is experimentation with like why not do this, why not do that, and what does it turn out as? Like,
totally.
If I include different parts of the plant, or if I change the process a little bit, like you're playing like, and it's fun. Like, why not?
Totally.
You know? We need more of that.
I love all that. It reminds me of when Amelia was like, say 5-ish or something like that. I'd be like, all right, we're gonna go on a little hike now, and she'd be like, oh, I don't want to go do that. And then when we'd get out there, she'd be like, loving it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like nature just almost forces you to turn into this childlike fun behavior.
Definitely.
So yeah. Also, I want to recommend a book, which I'm going to probably butcher the title and the author. There's I want to say it's Charlie Hoehn. It's called Play It Away. He was dealing with a lot of like depression, and his goal was to essentially start playing as many games as he possibly could, and eventually he like, I don't want to say healed himself, but really he like, it completely changed his life.
Cool.
So play is so incredibly important, along with all the herbal medicine that we're consuming as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how our society, as adults, you feel like you can't like let loose and play like you did when you were a kid. It's
right.
Like so restrictive. Like,
yeah.
And it's actually pretty silly. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
it's good to be goofy, especially in public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the play you do as an adult is a little different maybe when you're a kid, like the whole approach to it and stuff. But
Totally.
I mean, I guarantee if you look at any indigenous population anywhere in the world, like there's a significant amount of like fucking around in the woods or wherever.
There's no fucking swearing on the show, Nick. So.
Oops.
Just kidding. Awesome. Well, transitioning a little bit, you've been getting more into teaching. And I'm just so happy to see you doing that. You have so much knowledge to share, and you've been teaching in person, I want to say, at Cassandra Lynn's store in Eugene called Rooted Remedies. Great herb shop in Eugene, Oregon, so definitely check that out if you're in the area. But I'm just kind of curious, what's it like going from, I mean, you weren't really doing too much teaching before, but now, why are you getting into it now? And just like, what's the journey of Nick Moya becoming a herbal teacher?
Yeah, cool. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I've always loved conferring useful information to people. So like, I just get high off of it. I just love like, that transfer of knowledge. And I love when people are curious and that I can tell them the next step in their evolution and give them a little hint, I love that. And so I've been sort of like, teaching in a way unofficially for like my whole life. I mean, if I know something and I'm out, I'll tell somebody about it, and I just love that. So it kind of comes naturally to me. And but Cassandra at Rooted Remedies in Eugene, great little shop, has been really helpful in encouraging me to do more workshops and stuff like that, and head up some more of that kind of thing. I just did a few recently with at their location. And it's encouraging, and I really love it. It's really fun. So it's basically like my approach to everything else. It's just like, is it stimulating? Is it fulfilling? Does it like fill my soul with like joy and wonder? And is it stimulating to that on that deep level? And teaching definitely is. So yeah, it's just fun. I love it.
How has it been giving plant walks? Because I know you've done at least one.
Yeah, just one, I think, officially. But I mean, like every time I go hiking with friends.
Right, that's an unofficial plant walk.
I'm always pointing stuff out. My dad,
yourself.
my dad's so funny. I'll go hiking with him, and he's just like, and it's my sister too. And they're just like rolling their eyes because every like 2 minutes I'll stop and be like, "Do you guys know what this is?"
Do they tell you to stop doing that?
No, they kind of like
they humor you.
They kind of like grit their teeth and just bear with it. But they've benefited too. I'm pretty sure a couple of occasions they're like, "Oh, interesting. That's actually pretty cool."
Do you tell Bear also what's going on?
Bear probably knows more.
He probably
than
already
I
does.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can smell all the.
Bears are
medicinal.
natural herbalists.
Yeah, he is.
Totally.
My dog, every dog that I've ever witnessed, only eats grass. Poaceae family.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting.
Their sense of smell must be it, right? Because they're so it's so much better than ours. I don't know how many times better it is, like 100 or something. Yeah. But like I always thought it was interesting that like you're walking in like a suburban area, and a dog's having some kind of stomach issue, and it's an upset stomach or something, and it's eating grass, and it's self-medicating. Yeah. But it's not eating like lilies or like alliums or anything else like that. Dogs only eat grasses, and I always thought that was really interesting. Like they just kind of know.
I never really thought about that before. Yeah, I've never seen them consuming anything else either.
Yeah, yeah. If you pay more attention to it, it's really interesting.
Totally.
Like okay, grass.
Poaceae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which as far as I know, there's no toxic grasses in the world either. Yeah. Obviously dosage makes a difference.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't think there's any like poisonous grasses anywhere in that family.
Interesting.
So it makes sense.
So fun fact, Nick, I want to say back in 2016. So Herb Rally started in about 2015. And about 2016, I started having guest monograph writers, and Nick was the very first one. You wrote one on burdock and moringa, and St. John's wort to be continued.
To be continued. It's only taken me 8 or 9 years to finish the St. John's wort one, but...
So Nick is a great writer, and
your monographs have been some of my favorite over the years.
Thanks.
And yeah, it kind of has been a while, I suppose, since you've probably written one. But being the fact that you've written monographs, you're a great writer. Do you have any suggestions to those that are just getting started in, say, writing herbal monographs?
So I kind of, I got through like college or doing like various papers, like research papers and stuff like that, which probably a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, even high school, like writing papers for English class or for history or something. So like, I think I just approach it similarly to that, where I dive deep into a subject. I take notes as I'm doing so. So like I try to like start with a big outline, but then just essentially like if I come across a subject where I'm like, oh, that's really cool and interesting and important, then I will just make a note of that as a header, and then I'll just go through and investigate those kinds of things deeper and kind of just like immerse myself in the subject, and then take more notes, and then basically just type it out. I mean, I don't think it's really that. Yeah, my writing method's pretty simple and basic, but I think what's cool is like what is useful for people, like what is interesting, like just and that's just what interests me. I think generally people would find interesting. So like when I come across a little factoid or something about the history of a plant, it's just like, yeah, of course I want to. If it stimulates me, it's probably going to stimulate somebody else. So, but I would say. Writing monographs, and I heard another herbalist say this a long time ago, and it stuck with me, but I don't remember who said it.
Okay.
But it was basically like, that is such a good way to start getting into herbalism, and even into intermediate or advanced like study of herbs, like is to write monographs. Because like not only does writing, I've been a journaler my whole life, and I really enjoy that it forces you to write complete sentences, and that is like, a subject, a verb, a noun. Like you're putting the grammar sort of forces you to think clearly about something. So it's really effective when you're thinking about learning a new subject, whether it's anything. I mean, it could be history or anything. But like with herbs, essentially you're writing a story. You're telling yourself a story, and I think that's how we as humans digest information the best, is through stories. So when you're writing, I think you probably understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Basically, when you're writing, you're forced to put things in proper syntax and grammar, and then it makes you think more clearly about the subject. So yeah, I think write monographs for yourself. Like, why do you don't need to publish them.
It does not have to be published.
No.
Just like making art, you don't have to share it with the whole world to see.
Exactly.
It could just be for your own internal
for the act itself. Yeah. That is super valuable for you as your growth as a human being. So like, write things down, take notes, and write complete sentences. Like, it doesn't have to be like, whatever, like some fact about an herb, like make a complete paragraph about it, and it'll really help you thinking properly and more consistently about something. Yeah. So yeah, I would highly recommend people just write monographs for themselves. Like, why not? I mean, it's a great way. And then you're digesting herbs one by one, which is another important thing. I think when people are starting out with herbs, it's easy to be like, oh, there's like hundreds of them to learn about.
Right.
And I need to know like the science and the alchemy and the history, and like I need to know like Hildegard von Bingen and like all these like historical takes on like different herbs. It's like you just need to take one at a time, maybe two at a time, and just fully immerse yourself in them. And then over time, you're gonna have a lot of deep information about stuff. So
I'm so glad I had you on the show. That shit is gold. Do you approach learning herbs the same way? Like, do you focus on one herb, say, per month or per year or anything like that? Or?
Well, one good example of what I do is when I'm mushroom hunting.
Okay.
So when you're out hunting for chanterelles, for example, you're not just gonna find chanterelles. You're gonna find like 12 other species of mushrooms, depending on what time of year it is. So, and you're not gonna know like a lot of them.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I have keys and I have books, I have pictures, and I have the internet. So I go and I find like 1 to 3 different species that I don't know what they are. And over time you get better at like classifying stuff down to like, oh, it's probably related to a russula or whatever. And then you can narrow it down. But like, it's same with plants. Find 1 or 2 that you don't know and that you want to know, and then learn those one at a time, and then investigate the history and the physiology, how it affects the human body, all those things. But like, just go a little deeper and take one thing at a time. That's the best way to go.
So I think of you as a like quasi-Luddite. You mentioned you have the internet, which is great. I'm glad you have the internet. But as far as writing goes, and I know you also had like a handwriting phase. I'm not sure if you're still doing that, but do you have any like tools of the trade that you like to use, like for keeping notes or for writing it, the monograph specifically? Keeping track of all the fun little factoids that you have.
Yeah, when it comes to writing longer things,
Yeah.
like you have to edit, and
Yeah.
you can't do it all. You can do it all by hand.
Yeah.
People did it for centuries, but but it's like, take advantage of the technology. I have a laptop.
Right.
Like, I edit a lot. Like, I'll reread stuff. I'll rephrase things.
Yeah.
And it really helps. So that's true with like any creative writing. Like, just take advantage of the technology that we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I use my phone when I'm out in the field, and I'll take notes, or I'll take a lot of pictures, and then I'll examine them when I get home, or I'll just take specimens back to my house, and then I'll lay out like 2 or 3 books, and just like narrow it down like from different perspectives, different authors.
Sure.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Cool. A couple more questions.
Yeah.
These are kind of more in the fun category. And I'm trying this new one out. I just asked it, I think, the past 2 interviews, but if you were to give a TED Talk, what would it be and why?
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I've never thought of this before. TED Talk.
You have so many different interests, and I'm just curious. Or we could say
any of my interests, I would not be a forethinking person. I wouldn't be like a prominent thinker on any of the things that I'm interested in. There's experts in everything that I like, which is what goes back to the jack of all trades thing, which I always hated about myself, by the way. I was always like, oh man, I wish I could just be like a freaking master at one thing and just be like that guy, you know, that's my thing. But I tried forcing it many times, and it always blew up in my face. It's just not who I am. So
I love how much self-awareness you have right there. Like, this is the way I'm wired, and I'm just gonna own it.
Yeah, just own it. If you're a jack of all trades, or a Jane of all trades, by the way, just like own it and like feel and experience as many things about life as you can. Because why not? I mean, to be a whole human being, a holistic human, like, you know, get into nutrition and get into history and get into archaeology and like, you know, all the anthropology and everything, like whatever interests you, sports, whatever it is, like just take it all in, because it's all so cool. We live in such an interesting time. There's so much good information out there. So let's enjoy it. Let's celebrate it.
So that's your TED Talk.
That would be a good TED Talk.
How to be a holistic human.
Why is it? Why it's not more, but why is it beneficial to be a jack of all trades instead of like a master of one thing?
All right, we figured it out.
All right, cool. That's a good one. I like that. All right, where's the TED community? I'm ready.
Start with TEDx and work your way up.
Okay.
I would love, actually, for the herbal community to have, like, say, a TED style forum.
Definitely.
And I'm just now thinking of that, because a lot of times when I go to, say, herb conferences, the keynote is just a keynote about, say, adaptogens or astringents or some other A word for herbalism or whatever, and a keynote shouldn't be a class. It should be an inspirational speech for, say, 15 to 45 minutes. And I would love to see more of that in the herbal community, and maybe I'll spearhead some sort of project like that.
Who better to host it than you?
There you go. Herb Rally.
All right.
I love it. All right.
Coming soon.
We figured out a couple things here. So sweet. Well, let's do something we haven't done. So long-time listeners of the Herbalist Hour know we used to do this segment. It's called Let's Get Deep, Friends Edition.
Oh, geez.
And this is where I pull a random card. I haven't done this for probably 40 episodes.
Whoa.
Maybe 50 episodes. So let's go ahead and grab this deck of cards here. Who knows what's going to happen? This is going to be fun. So this is where I grab a random card, and it's going to be some sort of question, and we're both going to have to answer.
Good. Okay.
That's the rules of the game. Do you want to draw one?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Let's see what we get.
And we could do even a couple if we need to, but let's see what we have
I like
here.
this guy a lot.
That's a pretty
Deep.
good one. Oh, yeah.
All right, Mason. What's your favorite thing about the city or town you currently live in?
That's not even fair.
So Mason and his partner
that too
Amanda just recently moved to Appleton, Wisconsin, and I'm visiting them for the first time with my partner, and he's like the best like guide of the city, like walking around super excited about everything about Appleton, which is awesome. So yeah, go what's your favorite thing?
That's so funny. It's the bunnies.
It's the cigar shop.
Yeah, I like the cigar shop. It's the bunnies, the cigar shop, the community. I love College Avenue and all the shops. I love that there's so many parks. There are so many parks. I could walk to City Park in 5 minutes. I could go to Herb Park, Arbutus Park. That's a fun little genus.
Yeah.
That's a madrone, right?
Yeah. Madrones, Arbutus.
Arbutus. We got Peabody Park. There's just so many parks. It's like a beautiful weather today, but there's snow everywhere, so it's beautiful. But yeah, besides that, though, there's a strong music influence here. So I'll say, I've probably told this on the podcast before, but I always say that I grew up without food, music, and culture. So that's what drew me to New Orleans.
How'd you grow up without food?
Let's say an emphasis on nourishing food or delicious food.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I grew up without food, music, and culture, so I was naturally drawn to New Orleans later on because they are just full of food, music, and culture. And then I discovered Appleton, and I got to say that it fills that void in a lot of ways. Like it's like there's a strong music scene, there's great food, and I love the culture here. So, and I just got to plug an event called Mile of Music. It's a free event every August, and basically they shut down all of College Avenue to traffic at least. Wait, that's not actually true. There's still traffic, I think, but for a full mile on College Avenue, which is essentially our like downtown strip, they open up all these different venues all the way down, and there's like hundreds of artists throughout the course of 4 days. I want to say like 70-ish thousand people show up to this beautiful free event, and yeah, it's just a magical place, and I absolutely fell in love with Wisconsin. So, great question, Nick.
Thanks, I worked really hard on that. We're talking about coming back at some point in the summertime. Yeah, that would be a perfect time for that event. Yeah,
that would be the best time, and it's the weather's obviously beautiful too. But what do you love most about the current town you live in?
Oh man, I live in Eugene, Oregon. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's like Appleton in a lot of ways. We've talked about this a little bit in the last day or two. But basically, you get the best of both worlds, being urban and rural. You get you get the whole feel of living in the country. We live on a farm. It's a lavender farm out about 15 minutes away from downtown Eugene. So it's not far from the city. But Eugene's a relatively small town anyway. Yeah. It's like 170,000, something like that. And there's nothing really close to it. Yeah. So there's tons of agriculture. There's tons of wildlands. It's out in the west. There's tons of state and national parks. So, and there's you can swim in the rivers. The water's clean. It's amazing. I just love it there. It's a playground. Yeah, is what it is. Yeah.
And that's my hometown.
Yeah.
I always say I was born and raised there, but I wasn't actually technically born there, but I was raised there since I was one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's deep in me, and I love Eugene. I love the Pacific Northwest, and let's do one more.
Okay.
So that was borderline a gimme. So, no, you're gonna hold it this time, and I'm gonna draw because you pulled the gimme.
All right.
Let's get some hashtag deep here.
All right.
What is? Oh, curious about this for you.
Huh.
What is the longest distance you have ever walked or run?
Oof.
Did you do the Camino? What's that? Because you've traveled a lot. What's that one?
Yeah, but not by foot so much.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Gotcha.
I've done some backpacking
Sure.
and some like long distance hiking.
Yeah.
I've done probably. Is this like mile wise? I've probably done like 20 miles in a day.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did some trekking in India, and
That's what I was gonna.
Yeah, I was in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
And I ended up like pushing myself pretty hard.
20 miles. Though.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But I have like kind of I have some knee issues, so like long distance stuff. Like I know I have a good idea of like what could help my knees, like certain exercises and things. Yeah. But I haven't made a lot of time to include that in my schedule as far as like exercise. Sure. So maybe in the future, actually, my partner Steph's she's really interested in backpacking, like longer distance for like many days. Yeah. And I would gear myself up for that. That would be fun.
I was really into like the Pacific Crest Trail idea. I never did it, but I was like really like starting to like, ooh, I want to do that someday. I never did it, but I feel like some of the people that do that are pushing like around 20 miles per day.
Do you guys have anything around in the Midwest like that? Because there's the Appalachian and there's the Pacific.
That's a good question. I think there is like some sort of continental divide trail or something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, but I don't. I'm not 100% sure about that. I'll have to look up.
It's probably not as cool as the other ones.
Right, the Pacific Crest would be the gold standard in my opinion. That's what I would love to do. What's that author, Bill Bryson?
Yeah.
He wrote a whole book about doing the Appalachia Trail, which I read and it was phenomenal. Yeah. That's a great book.
Oh, cool.
I don't remember. On Nature? No, that's a different book, I think.
Walk in the Woods.
Walk in the Woods, that's what it is. Yeah, that's a great book. So we'll say 20 miles. Was that you said that was in India?
You probably done 21 miles.
No, it was 20.1.
20.1. Yeah. So you win.
Honestly, I want to say is probably 12 or 13 miles. Point Reyes. I did some backpacking around there, and that's like in around San Rafael, like the Bay Area.
Oh, cool.
So beautiful, like crazy beautiful. Yeah. Camping overlooking like the coastline. Like I want to say we did like maybe 12 or maybe like 21 miles or something like that day. But no. But I will say this: we were talking about the story last night. I have ran a mile and juggled the entire time without dropping. So we'll just say that that's my my little.
You've got some eclectic interests. Yeah,
I like juggling
Mason's
while
really
running.
good at chess, really good at ping pong. He can juggle 12-pound steel balls, 3 of them. It's just like what's next? Man?
Exactly. Next is a flaming skull bowling ball. So
yeah. Exactly. You're gonna be like free diving like 50, 60 feet down. Like
ooh, heights there a little. Yeah, I don't know so much about that, but righteous. Well, any closing thoughts before we wrap up and get out of here?
Yeah, actually, I want to say how cool it is what you're doing.
Thank you.
I think Herb Rally is freaking changing the culture. It's awesome. I'm like, I've seen it from your early conceptions of the idea. Mason and I used to live together, and he came to me with like this idea. It's like, and I think at the time he thought it was pretty like crazy and radical. And I was like, dude, that's such a good idea. That's you got to do that. Yeah. So I'm really glad to see where it's come, how far it's come, and that there's obviously so many people interested in herbs right now. Totally. And you guys are like doing such a good job, and a real beacon for the culture. So
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I love you very much, Nick. Thank you for joining me.
I love you too, man.
Thank you for joining me on the Herbalist Hour, and Merry Christmas, Happy Solstice, Happy New Year, all the above. Thanks for joining us on the Herbalist Hour. Thanks once again, Nick, for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you back in Eugene, Oregon, where you get to host me and Amanda.
It's coming. It's coming.
All right, brother.
I love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Herb Rally podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us here at Herb Rally, we now have a text message community, believe it or not. Basically, it's just updates from us. We send about 1 to 7 texts per week, notifying you about new events, videos, courses, podcasts. You get the idea. It's pretty much like our email newsletter, just in text form. So if you'd like to receive text messages from Herb Rally, just text JOIN, that's JOIN, to the number 541-256-2895. Again, that's JOIN to number 541-256-2895. And to stop receiving texts, that's easy too. Just text STOP to the same number. It'll opt you out immediately. Okay, thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.